Hello everyone, I'm Krasi Attasio. I have again the pleasure to have with me Vanita Lenka. We're doing now the second lecture on Prashna. And just briefly to tell you, this is the Vedic Horary Astrology, which is very ancient and really very valuable knowledge, which is much more expanded than the Horary Astrology of the West that you know. So if you're watching this video now, I suggest that you first see the first lecture, which was very useful, introductory, and will be easier for you to understand this one if you already have seen the first one. So once a week, we are doing Prashna lectures, and thank you, Vanita, for accepting my invitation to give us this fortune. So please go ahead and continue with the second part of our Prashna lessons.
Oh, thank you so much, Krasi. Thank you once again. And I hope it was easy to understand whatever I conveyed. And definitely, I will be looking forward to making it simpler because in Prashna mark that I have just picked up from, the language is not that easy. So I'm just picking up from there, yet simplifying it so that everybody can understand. And it is very useful information for the non-astrologers also who are about to take up astrology, and if they are interested in astrology and they want to seek advice from the astrologers, they must also be aware what exactly is Prashna, because where they are going, they are supposed to know certain things before going to the astrologer. So coming to the next segment, I have to speak about specific use of Prashna Kundli, which I defined briefly in the beginning also. You see, even if you have the accurate birth chart, there are many areas of knowing immediate future or solving the immediate problems and anxieties of the querist. You know, people come with anxiety to an astrologer, that is for sure. Maybe, for picking up the electional thing, like the muhurta, they will go to the astrologer for. So, the anxieties that person has come with can be dealt only by Prashna chart, and the role of the birth chart can be best be stated to be supplementary. It is not the first and the foremost chart. It is the supplementary chart. I must make things clearer. For example, if you want to know about a missing person, whether he's dead or alive, questions like there is a theft in the house or somewhere in your factory or industry, wherever you are working. So you want to know when will be the recovery, whether there will be a recovery or not of the stolen article. Then the description of the thief also, you at times, the servants in the house, the house helps, they pick up something, and then there are 4 or 5 of them, or 3 or 2 of them. Then you are confused, which one. So you know the exact person who has stolen the article. So for that query also, the name actually can also, the initials of the thief can also be known.
Amazing. Amazing.
I have done that, and I will be sharing that example as well in my later on videos. So that also one can know. And then if a patient is in the hospital and somebody is asking about the patient's recovery and all, in case of marriage, whether the person will get the person of his choice or not. Imagine these all questions can also be known through the Prashna, but very specific, and it has a very limited scope. So we can just use it for the supplementary thing. That's where Prashna chart gives accurate results, and we can rely upon them also.
Oh, it's major. This is already major.
Yes, it is really very helpful.
Very.
The birth chart is constructed for the precise moment of the birth, as we all know, of the child. And Prashna chart is constructed for the moment the querist approaches the astrologer for knowing his future. Now the question comes if someone is asking about the query, as I told in my first video also, over the phone or through email in the present time, because this I'm taking up from a text which is written when there was no phone, nothing, and ancient text. So at that time, people used to approach the astrologer So now if the query is coming through the phone or the email, then the time of at the time the astrologer erects the prashna chart at the place where he is would be the prashna of the query. Now there is a limitation to the scope of the prashna chart. I must tell you, it's valid only for maximum 1 year. You can ask one question which will be valid only for 1 year because it's about the marriage or something like that. Then it is valid only for 1 year.
Excuse me, Vanita. So the
Yes.
person is approaching you. He's calling you. He's not
Yes.
yet asking the question. You cast one chart in order to see his status. How is he? Whether he's approaching you honestly or he's approaching you with not good intention. So you cast this one chart. Is this because you mentioned this briefly in the first lecture we had, and then when he asks the question, you do a second chart. You cast the second chart, right?
Actually, Krasi, I cast the chart only when I'm going to make the birth chart.
Ah, okay.
At that time only, I do it that way. But you know, if most of the astrologers, they will do it. You know, if there is any particular query, and you are not getting the answer through the birth chart. If you're not getting any answer, so to actually, you know, maybe to confirm the query, people do that they erect the prashna chart later on. But I do it to know, first of all, whether the person who's coming seeking the advice is, you know, his query is actually sincere or not.
Oh yeah.
That is what plays on my mind, the first thing. Because, you know, being into astrology in the social media, we get these kind of people who are into astrology and they're just trying to check you, you know, they are insincere queries.
Absolutely, anything can happen. But then, Vanita, like you're having, for example, today a question per email, but you have the time only after 1 week to read this email and to respond to the person. Which timing you take for casting the prashna chart? Do you take the timing at the moment when he asks? Because on the email you can see he asked me on the 1st of January, then you cast the chart with the timing of 1st of January, or you cast the time for the moment you're opening for question, for analysis?
No, for a particular query, first of all, the prashna, you have to take the time of the astrologer's place. Number one, where the astrologer is. Secondly, the query, even if it is a month old or 2 months old, a year old, whenever you are putting up the query, you will get the answer at that time only, and the answer will never vary. Even if you would have done it, you know, through one astrologer or 10 astrologers, the answer will remain the same.
Wonderful.
So if the person could not get any reply from my side immediately, and he seeks another astrologer at the same time, then he will get the similar answer from me also, what he got from the previous astrologer he visited. Because, you know, 1 month is a very long time, you know, to respond to a prashna. I generally don't do that. If it's
of course,
it's
this
a
was just an example. Yeah.
Yes. If it's a prashna, it will be coming from your known people, first of all. Somebody known, as in like your, you know, mainly from the people who you know, and whose astrology you have already, the reading you have already done. Or maybe, you know, they just want to, if there's a patient or somebody, you know, and they want immediate answer for somebody else known.
Oh yes.
So that's how, you know, so it's an immediate thing. So I definitely respond back immediately, and I make the chart, I erect the prashna of that particular time when I am seeing the chart.
Ah, wonderful. This is a very key thing, very key thing.
Yes, it is the most important part, because this is a major confusion, that, you know, the person is in Australia, I am in India.
Yes.
The person is in the US and the other one is in the Europe, you know, in Europe. So where should I, which chart should I erect of the persons, where the queries, or the one who is answering, you know, the astrologer?
Absolutely.
So, yes,
I wanted to clarify this. Yes.
So Krasi, you will have to make the chart at your place, at your time, for answering the query anytime. Yeah. So there are certain procedures I'm moving on to. the astrologer must follow. It's not that the querist only has to follow certain procedures. There are in Vedic text for astrologers also. The astrologer should always be on the lookout if any person is approaching him for a prediction, if at all he knows. See, nowadays we know that okay, we have got the query, but nobody is coming to us now through phone and email. Mostly I do it that way mostly, you know. So he should be carefully examining the if the person is coming in person for the querist, then he should examine the appearance, the dress, the movements, the actions, everything about, if he's scratching his head, or he's keeping his hand like this, or he's doing this. You have to, even minutely, you have to, what he's wearing, how he's talking, the first syllable that he says hello, or he says pranam, or he says namaste. You know, whatever is happening around you, you must observe what the other person is doing, how his appearances, his movements, everything. You should also note down the ominous sounds that you're, you know, getting around. If there is any birds chirping, or you know, there are certain things, you know, the keys fall, so the sound of the key is not considered, the falling of something is not considered auspicious, maybe, you know, it's not a good omen. So you have to, which I will be sharing with you gradually in my subsequent videos.
Yes.
Everything I will share. So you have to be aware. As an astrologer, you must know what exactly, and obviously you should diagnose the main thing, the most important part, your own breath. When somebody is coming to you, you should see from which, I will be sharing that as well, which breath is predominant. That is a very important video. It's going to be a very important video, I'm sure.
Yes.
Only humble requests deserve an answer. No prediction should be offered to any person unasked for, nor to the one who wishes to test an astrologer. Sorry, I don't do that. I definitely decline immediately, outrightly. I don't reply. If I know, if I have even 1% of doubt on that person, I will not respond back. Maybe I'm arrogant, you can call me bad or whatever.
No, you're not.
It is something that I stick to. I stick to my the knowledge that I have attained. I don't want to disregard it. I don't want to disrespect it. One should come with pick up only those who are actually attempting, you know, with a honest query. So he will not be able to get the truth also. The person who is coming for query will not get the truth also from me, whether requested or not. If there is the desire to know the future, the astrologer should give predictions on the basis of the ascendant, the 4 quadrants, and the 3 trines. You must reply, see these things first, if it is very important. Because, you know, if you're considering only one query, so, you know, and the person says, no, I want to know this also, then, you know, you have little bit of flexibility if the person wants to know the future. So you can see the lagna, the kendras, and the kona bhavs. That is the ascendant, the quadrants, the squares, and the trines. As Sage Vashishta says, those who have a desire to know the future, whether they ask or not, deserve to be given predictions on the basis of Arudha. Now you will say, what is Arudha? It's a very, very important part. Let me briefly explain you in this video. I will be telling you about Arudha later also. You see, if you have an ascendant and its ascendant lord is maybe in the 4th house. So from that particular ascendant lord, suppose it is Venus. Venus is the lagna is Taurus, and Venus is in the 4th house. So 4th house, you have to count another 4 houses from Venus. That will be the Arudha. That is the 7th house. So the 7th house, we have to see the condition. So 7th house becomes Scorpio. So Scorpio, you have to then see the Arudha and the Arudha and the Lagna, the ascendant. You have to see the relation between them. The Udaya Lagna, as we call, and the Arudha Lagna. So we have to see both the lords, Venus and Mars. How are they? Are they friendly or they are inimical? So we have to see the relation between them, and then we have to predict accordingly. It is a very important one. Until unless you don't have you don't understand Aruda, you will not be able to understand the chart. You will not be able to. You have to pick up the Aruda first in the Prashna. That is very important. So the 4th house, so it becomes the 7th house. So this is obviously it has a lot of material on Aruda. Prashna Marg is full of it. So I will share that later. Now coming to the next segment, that is how to approach an astrologer. Now I told what the astrologer has to do. Now see what the querist has to do. The querist should select an auspicious, if there is urgency. If there is an emergency or an urgency, then things are different. But if there is no urgency, in the classical text, it's mentioned that one has to pick up an auspicious day, that is the tithi, a favorable nakshatra, the lunar mention or the constellation as we say, an auspicious weekday to go for the prashna. Like as we say, Saturdays and Tuesdays are not auspicious. We should not put up queries. I don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't do it. Saturdays and Tuesdays are no prashna for me. I avoid the prashna. So these are not auspicious. Preferably early in the morning, if you can do that, the querist should meet the astrologer. That is good. If can't meet, then the astrologer should do the prashna in the morning. That's what. And one more thing, the querist should meet the astrologer with humble presents, like flowers or fruits. Earlier it was that. Now people give sweets or maybe money or whatever is nowadays. So that is also an energy exchange that should be done, and it is the karmic bandhan. Otherwise, if the astrologer is not given what he deserves, then the query also will not be correct. That is what I have experienced. So the querist should ask the question facing the east direction. So if the querist is facing the east direction, you are facing the west direction. So when you are when I erect the prashna, I look at the east and erect the prashna. Right now I'm facing east and sitting, so I always sit here and and raise the prashna. So it is good if the querist is in person with you, in person he's asking, then he should be facing the east direction. And even if the querist does not know the auspicious days, etc., which I don't expect these days people will be aware of, obviously not. So even that moment will reveal the outcome of the prashna, but the querist should approach the astrologer truthfully and sincerely, without any intention of either test or make fun of the astrologer. Then only the query will be solved. I have seen it is very important. Now, if we have time, then I can go ahead with the sincere and insincere queries, Krasi. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's up to you. I can't wait to hear it all.
Okay. So because I thought maybe if the video is not prolonging too much, then we can do it in the next video, sincere and insincere queries.
Maybe when you say this, we can complete this video, then we...
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now people will be also, anticipating. So there are insincere and sincere queries. The astrologer should first assess if the querent is honest or deceptive from the strength of the ascendant, because the prediction that is to be given arises in his mind. So it is advised to first verify the sincerity of the querent through the analysis of the ascendant, and there are certain methodology that is prescribed. So how is it to be understood whether the querent is honest or not, deceptive or not? So we have to see from the lagna. Number one, the ascendant. So the ascendant. Number two, the moon occupies, if the moon is in the first house, that is the ascendant, as Saturn occupies any of the squares. So while Mercury is combust and the moon is occupying the ascendant, is aspected by, see that this, I'll just break it. First is the moon in the first house, and Saturn in either of the squares. That is number one. Number two is if Mercury is also there and is combust in the chart, then it's not a sincere query. It's
But
not.
Vanita, very often Mercury is combust.
Not very often. Not very often. But it has to. We have to see the position of Saturn also. It has to be in very close degrees with Sun for Mercury to
This
get.
photo. All right. All right.
Yeah, because it is always in the close vicinity to Sun. So I don't consider the combustion of Mercury that much. But definitely, I see the position of the Moon and the Saturn, in the chart first.
Okay.
And if I have seen if Mars or Mercury are aspecting the first house, even that is not a sincere query. We have to see that.
And what about the Moon you mentioned? What about the position of the Moon?
Moon in the first house. If Moon is in the first house and Saturn is in the square.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number one. Number two, if Moon is in the first house and Mercury is Saturn and Mercury. Saturn is already in the square and Mercury is combust. Then definitely it reconfirms. Third is if Mars and Mercury are in the 7th house and aspecting the Moon or the Lagna. Even if it's not the Moon. I have seen Mars in the first house or in the 7th house. Query is not.
So you just refuse then? You refuse then? You refuse the reading?
Yeah, I refuse. Totally, I refuse.
Absolutely.
Then we have to see, if Moon as well as, if Moon is also aspected by a malefic and the first house is also aspected by the malefic or either of the two. Then it is definitely, I think I mentioned that already. So that is also one important one. And then, the 7th house aspect and Saturn in the Kendra, that also. Yeah, and then Saturn also in the mutual, Saturn is in the mutual aspect to the malefics, more malefics, maybe the nodal or the or Mars, then also if they are opposing each other, if Mars and Saturn are opposing each other, even then the query is not, the querent is not sincere, the querist. And then, we have to check whether the ascendant is weak. If it is weak, that also we have to see. It can be weak by, the ascendant lord if is weak, or it is aspected, the ascendant is aspected by malefics, or the ascendant lord is aspected by malefics. Even then, you have to avoid answering. You should not answer. And then if any of the Jupiter or Mercury is aspecting the 7th lord with inimical, suppose it is Venus. So Jupiter aspecting Venus is also, which is the 7th lord, mind you, 7th lord. The first is actually the querist and 7th is the astrologer. So that is why if the 7th is having malefic, so it becomes that insincere query,
Oh, yes.
Venus or Mars, maybe aspected, by Jupiter. So then it becomes a negative one. So if Lagna, if the ascendant is occupied by malefics, again, it is a query to test the astrologer. Insincere or not sincere is different, but he's come to test the astrologer. If there is a malefic in the, suppose it's Rahu, Mars, Saturn, you see it in the first sight, you will say no, reject. This person has come to test you. All right. So, but if the ascendant or the moon is same as the Prashna chart, see if your ascendant is in Libra, your moon or ascendant is Libra. And in the Prashna chart also, when you erect the Prashna chart, you are getting the same Prashna, the ascendant and the moon in Libra. So it is a sincere query then. Then it is a sincere query.
Yes.
So this is something that we have to check and then move ahead. That this is the major, most first important step that we have to when we are erecting the chart. Then comes obviously before to that I have explained. Now will be what happens after that. So we can end here, Krasi.
Yes, thank you so much, Vanita. I think all that you explained was very clear, but still, if people have questions, they can freely ask in the comment section. Vanita has very nice channel on the YouTube, and she's uploading videos, like 2 videos per day, so she's really very, very active, and all the videos are very interesting. So Vanita Lenka, if you write on the YouTube, I will also post her coordinates under this video so you can reach her. Thank you so much, Vanita, and I'm looking forward to the next session on Prashna. This is really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.